First up, why this news anchor needs to stop bringing his gear on the road so that every time that we do a show, it doesn't need a new setting. Next, how much fecal matter is in your butter? We take a look at how butter factories have gotten greedy and are feeding you butters with shit levels above an acceptable range, and what politicians can do to bring butter turd ratios back to a normal level. RFK Jr. has promised to figure out within 3 months what's causing all the autism, and says he has kids with just the right amount of autism to do the job. Next, a look at the system being used by Turkey and Israel for calling dibs on what to bomb in Syria. In other Middle East news, Israeli bombing of a Gaza hospital has Gaza residents shocked that they still had a hospital. Next, concerns amongst the lower class. The new high-pressure showerheads will result in using all the hot water sooner, sending off a war between apartments of how early you have to wake up to get hot water. With 5 women going to space, they all agreed it's a good thing this thing flies itself. Donald Trump looks to make daylight saving times permanent, saying, "Why are we wasting all the sunlight? We could be saving it year-round. The stupid Dems, they're just throwing all the sunlight out." Next, in a giant act of karma justice, all the douches looking to attend Coachella are being douched over by the even bigger douches organizing the festival. In an effort to cleanse the city, San Francisco has erected a giant new lady, hoping to give the homeless people a more centralized location to masturbate, consolidating all of the city's semen to one street. With the bond markets going up 600 basis points, we try and figure out what's a basis point, as basic financial literacy would be imperative before a podcast host goes on another 45-minute rant trying to explain economics. As a result, we talk to this guy to explain what's happening with Trump's tariffs.
See, the problem is motherfuckers ain't gonna lend us no more money. We already owe too much money. You think you're gonna owe $10 trillion, have a trade war, and people gonna lend you money? And the motherfuckers only lending you the money so you buy the shit. Now you're saying you ain't gonna buy the shit, and they're still gonna lend you the money? Nah, man.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. It is a pleasure to be with you guys today. And look at this incredible array of porch tour dates. Did anyone ever expect that we would porch this hard? And bear in mind, this doesn't even include the days that I'll be opening up for Dave Smith. You can count the days I'm going to be home for the rest of the year. So get on board, people. There's a porch for everybody. You don't even have to travel that far. I'm basically showing up to your yard. I see Nitro Yeti in the chat saying Robbie the Fire, and I just got back from Des Moines. Me and Chris Fay got an absolute blast out there. We went out partying with Scott Horton, some dude who owned an ice cream shop in the area. I was over here. I thought I'd kick my sugar habit until I was drunk and high at 1:30 in the morning, and a guy kicked open the door to some ice cream shop. And then he's like, "Listen, I know that you can't eat dairy, but try this on for size." And then he handed me a chocolate dip waffle cone. But not only was it chocolate dip, it was dark chocolate dip. And if we were still doing pastry for the year, this would be a contender. I took one bite. I looked up at BK Chris and I said, "I've been doing pastries wrong my entire time. Fillings, donuts, the works. All you need is a good dark chocolate dip, chocolate waffle cone. You don't even need the ice cream." And I know that's blasphemous, and maybe it's just because I don't eat dairy, so I'm missing out on the good balance of the cream with the dark chocolate. If you're going to be eating a giant item with the dark chocolate, you want to be able to earn that cream. I understand these things. Sorry, I don't remember the name of it. I was drunk, and I think you guys slid into my DMs. I'll plug it on the next one. Just re-hit me up. We had a banger of an evening. I got to chew Scott Horton's ear off about everything. I think I'm going to add a live podcast in Austin with Scott Horton. We'll do debunking conspiracies. And anyways, let's get into the news. Excited to be out porch touring. We are kickstarting the tour in Mobile, Alabama. And then I got Pensacola, Florida. And then after that, we've got St. Augustine. We got West Palm Beach. Then we're doing the Texas runs. Then we're doing the deep far out west runs. And if you go to porchtour.com, get those tickets early so I don't have to panic about throwing down my credit card on all these flights. Go get those tickets. Go get those tickets, people. Show up for some porch tour action. It's a good time. I got all new material. I got different openers cross country. And then, oh wait, one more announcement, and then we'll move on with the news. We're bringing back the Smoke Out Bug Out. It's going to be happening at Max's this year. Max is the OG porch. I recommend flying. I recommend camping out for the night. He's got a private bar on the property. We go hard on that one. We hang out all night, and we're bringing back the Smoke Out Bug Out. That's going to have a concert from the Shedcast guys, a full stand-up comedy show, and the Smoke Out Bug Out. Tickets are like, I don't know, $25 or something. That's like a full day worth of festival events. All right, let's get into it. We've got all sorts of news to discuss. There's all sorts of things happening. Get the porch tour tickets. And the episode is brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo, the only place in the entire world where you can get a kilo of kratom for just $60. All right, you know what? We might as well take a little bit of chat action before we get into it. Let's start with Ricky Cap. You aren't an expert on pastries, so shut your mouth. How dare you? I've earned these tits. I do a lot of exercise for the amount of fat that I still carry around. I think as most adult males age 37 go, I put up good pastry numbers. I put up a good daily consumption of pastries. And I don't go for the cheap stuff. I'm not just buying them from the gas station. I tour this country, and I eat pastries everywhere. I eat the home baked goods. I search out the good pastries. I review them all. I don't settle. And for you to come on my podcast and try and pretend that I don't have an excellent palate for sweets, you are wrong, good sir. You are wrong. And I retired from sandwich talk. I laid it up. I said, listen, I no longer eat cheese. And since I no longer eat cheese, there's too many things that are going on with sandwiches that have evolved past simple sandwiches that I can't be in the sandwich reviewing game. Same as I can't be in the pizza reviewing game. I used to love pizza. I used to have a refined palate for pizza. I don't have it anymore because I don't eat cheese. But I'm still out here and I'm still eating the pastries. And for someone to come on this podcast and try and pretend like I don't have a refined palate for pastries, I'll put up the pastries I'm eating against the pastries you're eating. You want to put up some money. You want to get some chef to judge it. And we can show up with some of our favorite pastries, and you can see how your favorite pastries do against my favorite pastries. I'll take you down. You are not going to win that challenge, my friend. We'll add it to the Smoke Out Bug Out. We'll call it the Munchie Off, and people can present their pastries to compete against my pastries, and I promise you 90% of you guys are going to lose that challenge. I maybe the top 10% of pastry eaters in this show might have pastries that they know about that can compete with the pastries that I'm eating, but for the rest of you guys, I'm easily in the top 10 percentile of pastry eaters in this country, and that is nonsense talk, and you should be embarrassed for having said that comment. All right, I see people are asking about the car. I got a brand new car, only has like 9,000 miles on it, and I was having a heated argument with my buddy the other day, talking about the El Salvadorian situation. I'm getting a little too much heated arguments last night. Up until like 2 a.m, someone's texting me that they thought that Dave Smith lost the Douglas Murray debate. And I was like, well, that's nonsense talk. And then it evolved into a whole Israel. I was like, I'm not even arguing the Israel thing. You might have better points than Douglas Murray, but Douglas Murray did not win that debate. That's the problem with Adderall, is that usually if people text me like the random stuff, I'm like not going to engage. And then all of a sudden your Adderall's up and I'm like, I'll fight with anybody right now. Who wants to start a debate? Let's do it. Anyways, people are asking me about my motor vehicle, and I felt like a real man yesterday because I actually changed the tire. I didn't think I knew how to change a tire. It's not that complicated, except that you feel like you're going to be responsible for your own death and demise because you're like, how tight are the lug bolts supposed to be? Wait, what? How does a start pattern work? I know I'm Jewish. I know I should know how the start pattern works. Anyways, I got a flat tire driving to Dave's, and then you buy a brand new car so that you can actually be reliable and show up, and then somehow your brand new tires with only 9,000 miles on them. I don't drive like that much of an asshole. But anyways, I guess some construction guy was dropping nails on the road to keep me from going a part of the problem. It was the CIA. They wanted to keep me there for my fine addition of smiling and nodding. They know that the show is not the same without my smile and nods. All right, let's take some other comments, then we can get into the news. Algorithm is really wanted to talk about pubes. Maybe he's one of these pro pubic hair on women guys. John Popick, no cheese but dairy and sugar. That juice stomach is weird. Yeah, I agree with you. It's I think milk protein's more the issue, because if I have like whey protein, or if I have something that's like overly dairy, I will be projectile vomiting, down for the count, sick. Like, I would never eat a piece of cheesecake. That would fuck me up. But like, it seems to be if I eat like a cookie or donut here and there, it doesn't ruin me the same way cheese, milk, or like straight up like dairy proteins do. Multi Megawatts had a good lineup for Riot Sandwiches, top pastry expert on the planet. All right. Roscoe saying I ended up drinking my melted ice cream at 3 a.m. For those that don't know, Roscoe is a longtime listener and commenter on the Run Your Mouth podcast. He came out to the Des Moines show. We hopped in a car from the venue, and he managed to pick up the fourth seat, which was quite a hang. It was the driver who owns the pastry shop. I mean, the dairy place. Roscoe, if you remember the name, you can let us know. I'll plug it because it was delicious. And he came out boozing with me, Scott Horton, and BK Chris. And then apparently in the hotel room, he drank an entire pint of melted ice cream at 3 a.m. And that's, it wasn't quite a porch tour, but it had porch tour vibes. Sup, Robbie. See you in June. Excellent. Eric Shaver. I feel like I'm getting cheesecake shoved down my mouth right now. Cheesecake is a good pastry. John Popick. My wife has the same problem. She's 93% Ashkenazi, has a lactate pill every meal. I've started doing more of that. I've started, like, if I'm not cooking for myself and I'm somewhere and I've said 9 times, hey, no dairy, no cheese, leave the butter, and then I pop that lactate pill just in case, because it is not worth the risk. All right. I have an observation. And sure, I've watched too much television, and I think in terms of scientific sci-fi storylines, but something happened, at least to my Twitter. I'm wondering if this happened to your Twitter. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, I found that my Twitter feed became essentially useless for what I like it for. Mixed in with the advertisement and the way that the algorithm was starting to bring me posts that it thought I would like, I was no longer seeing news and information the way that I would consume it. And there was a way that I used to get a lot of stuff in my feed that then would become show material, or just conversations about things that were going on that I thought was insightful. My feed died. It was no longer interesting. But then if you became a Twitter subscriber and you started paying Elon his $8, he needs your $8, there was a news feature that became my single best news source. And I used to start my days with it. And essentially, they consolidated all of the biggest news they were using AI, and they gave you the best news, that basically the things that everyone was talking about with a brief description. And then if you clicked on it, you could see more of the original articles that it was pulling that information from. You could go read the original articles and you could see more of the conversation about it. I don't know why. It was a fantastic feature. It no longer exists. They went back to just in that column showing you the trending hashtags. Now, maybe you guys never noticed this feature. Maybe it's not a feature that you used, or maybe for some reason I have been specifically downgraded by the elites that they no longer want me to have this information. But now here's the creepy AI problem that because I was hooked. I was hooked on that Twitter news function. And let me tell you, over my 10 years of following the news, there's been different sources that I've used at different points in time, and they all jumped the shark at one point. I remember back when I was doing Rob's Newsroom. You can go catch that. It's on its own thing. We did about 50 episodes of that. It was a fun web series when I was doing it. I used to use Reddit News quite a bit. And then when Trump came into office, Reddit News was no longer good. Reddit News used to be excellent. And then I used to read the Reddit World News, the Reddit US Politics. There were a bunch of them that I really liked. I've not been on Reddit to read news and basically since Trump won the first time. So talking 9 years ago, something like that. And then Week Magazine. I used to love Week Magazine. And then also post-Trump era, jumped the shark because it went from being pretty balanced and kind of giving you good news summaries to no longer being balanced. And then it became more of a subscriber fee thing. Jumped the shark. Twitter, I was using that news feature. And just recently, maybe they'll bring it back. Jumped the shark. The thing that was a fantastic product / service no longer exists. And then here's what I noticed is kind of creepy. if we get into a world where we start relying on more and more technology, and imagine if we actually get to the point where, you got a chip inside your brain, and then we get to a point where if the elites don't like you, they can throttle your chip. Where all of a sudden everyone's working 90% capacity. Maybe the super rich get access to the better supercomputers, so their inside brain throttles at 120% capacity. And then all of a sudden, you're downloading too much information that the elites don't want you to know. You're becoming a little bit too articulate. You're making too many good financial trades, and then they just downgrade you. They throttle you, where now your chips are only working at like 20 or 30%. It's kind of like the inverse of what they've done with content online, where you can get shadow banned. We're all trying to make that papers. We're trying to sling our porch store tickets. We're trying to get our information viewed by a wide audience. It's no fun when you put out sketches and you're like, wow, I worked a whole week on that and 4 people watched it. But then it feels real good when people are like, man, I really saw and liked that joke. But the point I'm saying is the same way that they managed to kind of throttle and censor content, it seems like they can also get you hooked on the good information. And then one day, it's like what happened when DeepSeek first came out, and then all of a sudden, all these technology people, they had to ramp up their AI and be like, all right, we'll give you the next couple versions because we got to stay ahead of these Asians that managed to steal our technology. But then it also seems like they can get you hooked, and then they can just turn off the lever and be like, you know what? We don't want people to have this information anymore. People are getting too informed, or we don't like the way that this guy's using our information, so we're going to take it away from him. And sure, listen, these are private companies. They can choose to do these things. I'm just saying, this is my first insight into this AI world, and where they can kind of like turn on the switch and spoon feed you, organize all the information, make your life easier, and then just go, no, you're not going to have this anymore. And this is version 1 of the AI stuff. We're still ramping up into the plugging into the matrix and all consuming and being attached to technology. What does the next level of this thing look like, where the inverse of censorship is just kind of removing your access to the good information or the speed at which they'll allow you to process it? All right. Death Mold. Do you need a porch in Vegas, Rob? Don't be scared of the heat. Shoot me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I did not schedule a Vegas one because Shawnee and Ted, who were a legendary spot, they have moved, and now they own a bar that is outside of... I mess up every city name, and I can't even remember. Cincinnati. I think it's outside of Cincinnati, the High Water Saloon or something like that. And I booked BK Chris on that because I would like to spend the entire day sitting at that bar, slinging some bourbons with my good friend BK Chris. I'm hoping Ted might treat us to some tunes on his bass. Maybe he's got a whole new band out there, and I'm looking forward to that one. And then I hit up the club out there, and I asked them, hey, we slung a lot of tickets when I was opening up for Dave Smith. I got all new material. I could easily tack this on a Sunday or Thursday. The guy got right back to me. He said, I'd love to have you here. Let me speak to management. And then I haven't heard back yet. So anyways, if you got a spot out in Vegas, I could potentially tack that on when I do Arizona, which is in November. And now I'm back doing the logistics. I'm trying to get away from logistics. Send me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. If you got any cities, major metropolitan areas that didn't make the list or something that would make sense to tack onto these routes, there's a couple more openings, but we're basically booked up and done. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. All right, the next just quick topic that I want to address, and then we'll get into some of the slides that I have for all of you guys, it's a friend this morning sent me this article, and then I was reading about it of Letitz. She was going after Donald Trump, and it's the old Donald Trump Bugs Bunny effect. That Donald Trump seems to be some sort of a mirror, that the harder you go after him for whatever the specific thing is, you end up getting in trouble. It's like other people can't handle the heat. Somehow Donald Trump can ride the fame wave, and then he's in the spotlight, and so everyone's nitpicking and going after him all the time. And then other people, they ride the fame wave, and they end up in the spotlight for going after Donald Trump, and for some reason, these idiots never have their ducks in a row, and so when they end up in the spotlight and everyone's looking at them, they're like, hey, you kind of did the exact thing that you're accusing him of. It's something, Michael Avenatti, I don't remember exactly what the crime that he ended up in jail for, but that handsome bald man was making such a stink over the Stormy Daniels thing. People were talking about, hey, maybe this guy could be the next front runner in the Democratic primaries to become president. And then 6 months later, he's a sad sack and he's in jail. And now the newest news is that Latita something James, the attorney general that was going after Donald Trump for total nonsense, Total nonsense. Who doesn't try and maximize the values on stuff when they're getting a loan? I mean, if you want more money. I guess if you want to take less of a loan, you wouldn't do that. But you maximize your collateral. You have your professional sign off on it. You've got a bank with all the resources in the world to actually do their own evaluations to decide the risk that they want to take when they lend you the money. And then just because Donald Trump becomes the enemy of the state and they want to do everything they can to keep him from winning the election, they bring that bullshit case against him. They win that bullshit case against him. And then the lady that was saying that no one's above the law, it turns out she accused of engaging actual mortgage fraud, of not living in the thing that she was saying she was living in, putting her dad on the thing with her as if they were an actual couple. And listen, these guys are deep state kooks from the Democratic elite, so for all we know, they are fornicating. Maybe that's not even her dad. Maybe she's actually the dude and he's the lady. You never know the way it works with these Democratic elites. They have some real screwy relationships, but it's always funny, the Donald Trump Bugs Bunny effect, that the loudest mouths that go after them the hardest just seem to, it's the Bugs Bunny effect. All right, let's get into some news topics. We got some nonsense news to start the show. And then, I'll anger you guys with some more tariff talk in a bit. You guys can get all upset at me. You can be like, we want our factories. It's always been my dream to live and work in a factory. What could be better? What could be better in life than good old factory work? Which we'll get into. I'm not against factory work. I like working with my hands. I'm a guy who changed a car tire yesterday. You don't think I like working with my hands? Believe me, I like it more than doing port store logistics or anything that includes a spreadsheet. All right, let's start with this one. Suspect in arson at Pennsylvania governor's mansion had troubled past. You have the governor. He's out there. He's celebrating his Passover. And then someone decides to go torch the governor's mansion. But now, once again, this is my conspiracy, kooky, watch too much Rick and Morty scientific brain, science fiction brain going, is that I noticed that this guy had dreams of attacking the governor with a hammer. And then I was wondering, all right, tell me you wouldn't like to see this zombie movie where, a bunch of these gay butt bottoms that show up to these Washington elite orgies. And, they show up, maybe they get a paycheck, maybe they're just trafficked, and they're there to be butt bottoms and to pleasure the elites. These are male prostitutes, sometimes not of the greatest of looks. I don't know why the elites, if they're already splurging for male hookers like the ugly homeless-looking ones, but, that seems to be the trend. And something's going on at these orgies that are turning these people into hammer-wielding serial killers that want to only get their vengeance on the elites. Wouldn't that make for a fun zombie movie? I'm not saying overlords of the internet who like to police what we're saying. I'm not advocating for violence against the elites, and I'm not saying that this exists in reality. But I'm saying of all the dumb zombie movies I've ever watched in my life, if someone were to make a dumb zombie movie where specifically all the gay hookers that it went to the big blowout orgy of the Washington elites all managed to take the same bad drug and then get it in their head that they need to go kill the elites with hammers, I would watch that movie because it seems like a fun movie. I'm not saying that that's actually what's happening or that this is another incident with a male hooker. I'm just saying that it would make for a fun movie. And if there were more incidents of male hookers going after their Washington elite purchasers of their hooker services, at least that would make for entertaining news. All right, next nonsense story is as concert ticket prices soar, more than half of Coachella general admission attendees are buying tickets through payment plans. And, dude, everyone's a big fat phony. Everyone's a big fat phony. Everyone's pretending like they got more money than they have, going out, having themselves a big old party so that they could take a couple of slutty pictures for their Instagram and pretend like they're living some perfect little life, to then go back to living at their parents' house, to then go back to working their shitty office job where now they got to work the entire year so that they can't even afford to go back to Coachella. And I mean, how exciting and fun is Coachella that you're going to go into debt to be there? And that's why I've already said it, raise the interest rate on student loans, because these kids partied. They're financially reckless. And do we want to continue to reward the financially reckless with more of the mating and dating prospects as they continue to post pictures of themselves having fun online? And everyone thinks, oh, these people have it figured out. That you got to punish these people so that the short Jewish balding men suddenly become intriguing because at least they're financially solvent. But here you have it. Everyone's a big fat phony. You know, they're all pretending like they're at these fancy festivals, and then you're over here sitting on a couch playing a video game on the weekend, saving a couple bucks so that, you know, maybe you can afford a house down the line, you can afford a business investment, or you can just have a little bit of your money for a rainy day. Having money for a rainy day is not bad. I like having some savings. I've had incidents where you can't work or where things just aren't going your way, and being dead broke it sucks. There's nothing worse like the incidents like I've had yesterday where you lose a car tire and you're like, I guess I'm stuck at home until the next paycheck when I can maybe afford to take care of that. Like, there's something nice about, you know, people don't talk about it enough, but it's nice just being a dragon and sitting on your pile of Jew coins and knowing that if things go to absolute shit, at least you have some sort of a cushion of savings. But a lot of people, they don't live their lives that way. And so you got some of the biggest idiots out here going out. They can't afford to be partying. And this is just the tickets. That's not taking the flight there. That's not once you're there and you realize you're not having all that much fun, and then you're dehydrated in the sun, so you buy another $12 water, and then you got to buy some of the drugs off of this person, and then you start hitting on a lady and you buy her all these drinks, and then now you strike out with her, so you're buying some other lady drinks. We're not even talking about all the add-ons. We're just talking about people that are actually borrowing money so that they can just go to the event. And now, this article is really great because you gotta love the horseshit news and their spin on everything. And this was from, I believe it was the LA Times. The Coachella payment plan is financially smart, actually. All right, everybody, take a step back. We're over here thinking, hey, if you can't afford to go party at Coachella and how important is going to Coachella for you, perhaps you're an idiot and you shouldn't be going. And so you got a lot of people out here going, hey, don't be an idiot. Why are you going to this thing if you can't afford to do it? And now you got this article telling you that, no, it's actually smart. And so let's read why taking out money that you don't have to go to Coachella is actually smart. Is it because you're going to date up? You and all the other ladies going out there, you're all going to date up? You're all going to meet the wealthy dudes? All the dudes that are there, they didn't pretend that they'd have the money for it. All right, let's read it. There are plenty of screaming recession indicators and signs that America's in decline. This is not one of them. The Coachella payment plan is a financially sound, risk-averse option for those already planning to attend. First, you already got the kicker that if you're already going, I mean, you could decide not to go. Not going to Coachella is a perfectly reasonable, financially solvent option if you don't have the money. But if you're already deciding to go, we've already put on the kicker, hey, this is smart. It's a good investment if you've decided to make the bad choice and go. But let's continue. Many people seem to be mistaken this option for some high-interest, after-pay style loan where fans are YOLOing themselves into terminal debt to wring the last drops out of brat summer before tariffs obliterate the stock market. They're wrong. Coachella's payment plan, which has been a popular option for fans for many years, is just this. For a $600 general admission ticket, including fees, fans have the option to put $50 down when the tickets went on sale in November 2024, then pay off the remainder of the balance in monthly installments through March of this year. The fee for this option was a flat $41. Now, 41 over 6, I think that's 8%. You guys can check my math on that. I think that's 8%, so it's an 8% fee. Fine, you don't want to call that interest. It's just an additional fee for getting lent the money or for not having to pay for it all up front and being able to pay the money later. You have to pay more money later, but that's not interest. Don't kid yourself that this is interest. It's just paying a fee to spend the money later. You're going to, instead of paying the money now, you're going to pay more money later, but that's not interest. All right, fair enough. I guess I really don't understand financials here. I really don't understand being financially responsible because apparently going to the thing that you don't have to go to and paying an additional fee for it, this is the good idea. Let's continue. There is no added interest charged at any point. I mean, there's the fee, which is 8%. As someone who's entered a career in music journalism in the 2000s, I might not be the wisest voice to turn to for financial advice. Well, that's not the way you started the article. But given the choice of putting your whole Coachella ticket on high-interest credit cards, I mean, there's also the choice of not going once again. There's the choice of, hey, I don't really think I can afford this and not going to the event. But apparently to this person who is not saying that this is a YOLO thing, but in their mind, you have to go to Coachella, Given the choice of putting your whole Coachella ticket on high-interest credit cards or using installment plans and saving money in a high-yield savings account or a low-fee market index fund instead, which, by the way, probably pays 4%, unless maybe you'd have to do the math on getting 4% monthly versus the 8% fee to see if maybe that even works out. I think even John Bogle would agree that the installment pound is the sound option. All right, there you go. The news, they got a spin on everything, including why it's a good idea to go to Coachella if you can't afford it. And then, of course, you had Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders showing up. And, guys, we all better hope that the economy isn't so cooked after tariffs or whatever other things Donald Trump is polling. Because that's the only chance that AOC and Bernie Sanders can get elected is if the economy is so absolutely wrecked that people are like, throw the current bastards out and give me some free shit. But now you got Bernie Sanders showing up, and you know he would have liked to have given the speech of, it's so nice to be away from all the poor people. I know the poor people. I talk to the poor people, but I'm actually a millionaire, and it's nice to be amongst you fancy people. But he couldn't do that because the poor people are at this thing taking out loans. That should have been you should not have to pay 8% just because you can't afford to be at the fancy festival for what's supposed to be for the elites. And so if you elect me, I will make sure that this and everything else that you ever needed was free. It is not right that so many people had to take out loans just to be at a fancy festival. And then I love the pictures of how Bernie Sanders enjoys himself, where he likes to pretend like he's always got that energy where he'll just sit in a chair. That's quite nice. That's quite, but I bet he rocks out. I bet he took some drugs and he had himself a nice little good old time. And now our next nonsense story is, all the nerds, they're fighting for who can get themselves into space. You got Elon Musk who's shacking up and pumping out babies. And then you got Jeff Bezos who upgraded to fake tits that he wants to show off to everywhere. And how mad must you be if you're an actual astronaut that, you went through the whole NASA thing. You studied all the math. You're the most elite at math. You're the most, sorry, my voice is still a little fried out from doing the intro and getting over a cold from when I was in Colorado. I'm not going through puberty. I could use a second round of puberty, maybe be like 3 full inches taller. That'd be nice. Go from my standing of 5'7" to like an actual full size boy. But how annoyed must you be if you're an actual astronaut and then you get to watch these people who, by the way, let's play this short little video of these gaggle of ladies up in space.
Got it.
Also, let me know if we got sound.
1, 2, 3. Take up space! Woo! Tamir's in space. Okay, please swim up there. Swim by you.
And nothing like a bunch of fancy bitches to go do something for you to go look at and be like, nah, I don't need to do that. You could take the most exciting thing in the world, which is being launched into space. You can actually look down at the Earth and see how flat it is, and then see the way that women seem to enjoy this and make sure that they can get good Instagram pictures out of it, and be like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm good. I don't think I'm missing out on this one. John Popick with the good rippage saying, I wish there wasn't sound for this video. All right, next up, what do we got? Before we move on to the next video, I see someone in the chat asking if there's still an opportunity to enter the Sheath Stairmaster competition, and the answer is no. I have to actually get back to the winner. We did have a winner. We'll have to send him some sheets. We'll have to see if he'll model them for us out on his Stairmaster. We'll have to see if we can get a testimonial video in a month from now about how much this man's life has changed since he's managed to get himself sheathed and he felt inspired to keep getting on the Stairmaster, because he liked getting on the Stairmaster, but everything else was creating too much friction between his fat thighs. And it felt like he was going to start a fire between his legs. And as little beads of sweat dripped down, it did nothing to cure or ease the friction. All it did was add salt to the wound as he continued to fray his thighs, and he's tried to climb. And he's looking over and he sees all these hot women working on their buns, and they don't seem to have a problem, but that's because they're wearing that full body spandex thing. They got thinner legs and they've got assholes, the butt cheeks that better elevate and even distribution everything. And if you're new to the Stairmaster, you're going to have that friction. But then this guy, we're going to get his testimonial, and I'll actually write it, and we'll do it like a terrorist video, so he has to actually say it exactly like this, or maybe we'll even overdub him like they used to do those the drunken history things on Comedy Central, and he'll give his testimonial, and it'll just be my voice coming out of his mouth about how fat and greasy his thighs were until he got sheath underwear, and then he got inspired to walk even more on the Stairmaster, and now he's really sexy and in shape, and all the women at Coachella want to have sex with him. Anyways, that contest is closed out, but we'll have Bobby the Bank back on next month, and we'll get a new summer fitness challenge going so that other people can win free pairs. And, of course, you can always just go directly to the website and use promo code RYM and get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. All right. Now, I don't know what was going on in this video. I don't understand Minecraft. I don't understand the way kids work. I don't understand all the excitement. But nonetheless, I want to play this video because this is the America that I love and remember. When you turned around during COVID and you watched every single sucker just be obedient, and you just wondered what happened to our country where we used to just be cool and it wasn't just about compliance. And what happened to all the college kids? We're all the frat kids. We're all the idiot. Not that I'm a frat guy. I sadly kind of come off like a frat guy. But I just wondered, where's all the idiots that I grew up with that just weren't going to do things because people were just telling them to do something? And I saw this stupid video of a bunch of idiots in a movie being a bunch of idiots. And I was like, you know what? This feels like our country again. Roll the tape, producer man. You know, it was funner without the ominous hymn. I don't know why this version of it had the ominous hymn other than they were trying to shame the kids for having a good time. But that inspired me to think that with Donald Trump at the helm, at least some good old American stupidity is back in action. All right, now I got another video of a dude who got swatted, and I'm almost starting to wonder, are people with nice abs swatting themselves? Is that what's going on? Are people getting in shape and then they're not, instead of just posting pictures of their abs, they're pretending, they're calling in swats on themselves, greasing themselves up, taking up their clothes, making sure that the lighting's good where it comes with the backdrop. Is there some sort of a fitness regiment that I'm not aware of? Get yourself your SWAT-ready body. Because let me tell you, if I got swatted in my underwear, I would not be posting the Ring camera of what happened afterwards. But roll the tape. It's another individual who got swatted. Somehow swatting is still an incident that we can't seem to figure out.
Just hold on, let me see. Okay, fuck,
man. Yo, what the fuck
okay,
is good, bro?
Relax.
What the fuck am I
Just
doing, bro?
Put your hands
Yo,
on
what
top of
the
your
fuck
head.
am I doing, bro?
Put your hand on top of your
Yo,
head.
come on, boys.
Turn around.
Are you serious, bro?
Hand on top of your head. Do
And
not
look at this,
move.
they grabbed him
Okay?
right
Do
from
not
the
move.
asshole,
Enough of you guys.
That doesn't look like a good time. Sheath underwear, get that SWAT body going. All right, now I think I had one more short video, and then we'll get into the most recent from the El Salvador situation, and then we'll do a little bit more tariff talk. But here was Trump. You know, they seem to, Trump. It's the ADD of Trump. What happens to the tariffs? Well, we'll get into that, but, you know, sometimes it just seems like Donald Trump's like, I'm going to press this button. No one likes that I pressed the button. Let's press it again. Oh, they're really panicking. I'm going to press that button again. Oh, no, something broke. That's exactly what I wanted to happen, but I'm not going to press that button anymore. And, so it's just like the parade of things to keep him on the headlines. And, the ending the Ukraine war, that was like all of a month ago. You can't talk to Donald Trump about something that was a whole month ago. We're talking about bombing Iran now. We're talking about sending people to El Salvador. We're talking about trade wars. Who's still thinking about Russia and Ukraine? I didn't even remember that Ukraine was a country. But, sometimes the news reporters like to ask him how things are going. And here's a short clip of Donald Trump. And honestly, I couldn't have said this one better myself. Let's roll the clip.
President Zelensky serve out his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. He's against. Listen,
when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles.
I mean, talk about good analysis on the Ukraine war. There you go. You got it all in 1 minute. All right, now we had the president. Is it the president of El Salvador? Is it the prime minister of El Salvador? Is it the shining king of El Salvador? I don't know what the formal title is. But listen, sometimes even when we don't agree with things, we do like to give style points. And so right now we're giving major style points to the Prince of El Salvador here. Got a handsome look. I mean, he looks like a Saudi Arabian prince, or like he just took over daddy's drug dealing gang and he figured out how to rebrand it for Instagram so that everyone would be pro the drug gang. And here he is. Firstly, off the bat, he says exactly what Zelensky says of I'll help you guys out, except in this case he actually is, and so nobody jumps on him. I also like the dynamic of who in the White House actually gets seats. You know, some people have to stand. They get the bleacher seats, and then the more important people, they get actual seats. Just total ADD aside, was the White is this from the Oval Office, or is there a different room that's more Trumpian in the White House? Because I don't remember the Oval Office being this gold and shiny. Do you guys remember the Oval Office being this gold and shiny? Did Donald Trump bring in more gold, make it look shinier if I'm going to be on camera? Did he bring it? Is this a different room? Is this actually from Mar-a-Lago? I just don't remember footage from the White House or the Oval Office ever being this gold and shiny. But maybe this is a different room. I'm not even sure. Anyways, we're going to give major style points for this guy's entire demeanor. And while I, was saying when I see people in prison, it kind of makes me feel bad. Man, does he throw out that argument here and make you feel like a chump if you were saying anything like that. So let's roll this clip right here, because once again, I'm not familiar with the El Salvadorian dynamics. I do know I think they went full Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. And I don't know what the gang life was like. All these people, when I see pictures, they're certainly tattooed up to the wazoo in the face. So for all I know, they're legitimately gang members. I don't know enough about it. But talk about a good pitch for making sure that you've got safety, clean seats, and criminals in jail, and that it's more important that everyone else gets to be free. And so, I'll give him style points on this one, and then we'll give the Trump administration a little bit of shit. But let's roll this tape because it's a good clip, and I can't really argue with it.
We went through this together and got along very well for my entire period of time. So I knew him as a very young man. Now he's just a young man. And he's done a fantastic job. Mr. President, it's an honor to
I want
have
to jump.
you.
I thought I had this running at like a minute in.
Man, Marco.
All right, good enough.
Even
We'll roll
younger
it
than
from
you.
there.
He started pretty young.
He'll always be younger.
Jamie Johnson saying the
Young
First
at heart.
Lady redecorates. I guess this is
I want
Melania's
to thank
doing.
you for the great job you're doing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here in the Oval Office with the president and leader of the free world. We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we can do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, if sometimes they say that we imprisoned thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. So,
That's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
Yes. And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people to liberate. But to liberate 350 million people, you have to imprison some. That's the way it works, right? You cannot just free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime and the end of terrorism. And it can be done. You're doing it already. And I'm sure that people have seen the change in the streets. A long way to go because you're just initiating your second term. But it's clear that, with the numbers at the border, even in Democrat-run cities, they get a help from.
Hey, listen, it's hard to argue with that perfectly groomed beard, well-placed hair, I hate when people mock me and they totally get rid of the side hair. And then, they totally get rid of the side hair to just go, hey, the middle hair is all that's important because they know that the bald guys can't have middle hair. But this, he's leaving the side hair. He's trimming it. He's trimming it back. He's got a nice slick back. He's letting you know how thick it is in the middle. He's got that real suave accent that kind of makes you want to sleep with the guy. Listen, I'm giving style points here, and I'm even saying his pitch for being hard on crime and liberating everyone else. No arguments there. All right. I'm very lost on this barber story, though. I'm very lost. First is, we'll go back to what I was first saying, which I don't agree with, depositing non-El Salvadorians into El Salvador without due process. But now in the case of the barber guy, he's actually El Salvadorian, so you're sending him back to his country of origin. All right? You got that one on the table. Next thing on the table, was he even gay? Is he even a barber? Was he an MS-13? Was he not an MS-13? Why were there earlier court cases that say that he would be in danger if he would go back there? Were the earlier court judges that did that and was under, I believe, the Trump administration? It wasn't under the Biden administration. I think it was in 2019. Did they just get it wrong? Did he leave the MS-13 gang and he would be concerned if he went back? Did he make up a full fake story about being gay? Listen, I'm confused at this point about what went on in this story. But if you haven't followed it all, I'll give you guys the details. So you had Donald Trump, and first they flew a whole bunch of people to the prison in El Salvador. They worked out a deal. This guy can imprison people. He has no problem imprisoning people. He said, take them. I'll take them, no problem. Donald Trump throws a terrorist title on MS-13 people, and he sends a bunch of people down there. People start going, hey, some of these people aren't from El Salvador. It's fine to deport them, but you can't just deport them to not their country, just directly in a jail without some form of due process. And I was on that side. And then you start having these stories come out that some people, I think it was just this one, it might have just been this barber guy, of people that should not. Well, I think there was one other guy who had the crown tattoo, which I don't think is the same guy, but I might not have the details right on this. So the barber guy, he gets sent down there, and the liberal media is all going, hey, this guy was not supposed to be sent down there. Then you have a court that says, hey, this guy had a previous injunction that he's not supposed to be deported back, so you have to bring him back. And I've said this before, I don't think lower courts should be allowed to check the president, because you can just have too many incidents of people from who are in liberal areas who just have a different political agenda. I think it should have to be the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court stepped in and said, well, the lower court can't dictate a timetable, but he shouldn't have been deported, and the president, they should figure that one out, but it now is an international matter. I think that's basically a recap of the details. But it's confusing because now you've got the administration saying, nope, that guy is 100% MS-13. All right. With all that being said, just to stay on the sillier side of it, I think, obviously, we're getting along with this guy. It's not like we just shipped a guy back to Iran or North Korea and we go, well, we made a mistake, but we don't really have a relationship with that country, and so they have no reason to give him. Here we are. We're doing business with the guy. We get along with the guy. I think you could bring the guy back and then have some sort of a court case and determine the person's guilt if the prior thing was wrong. And now you might go, well, why go through all the hoopla and process to end up in the same place? Maybe just to showcase that you're not being sloppy as you're enacting the agenda, or at least maybe it would be, in my opinion, my own OCD autism, I would rather if you just owned it and you went, well, listen, at the end of the day, this guy's MS-13. We don't want him in the country, so we're not bringing him back. But instead, they're pulling this bullshit thing of, well, it's not our choice. It's actually his choice. And I just thought like this was almost like a court gesture of the king turning to his jester and going, look at the entertainment that I have for you. And now my jester's going to juggle and he's going to do these silly things and look at my guy with his bow and arrow. It's like the king. And instead of that, we're in America. So he goes, look at my lawyers and their marvelous bullshit. And so both Pam Bondi and I think Stephen, I don't remember the guy's name, but we'll see him in a second. They both take their chances of saying the absolute bullshit of why we can't have him back. And it's wonderful bullshit. It is wonderful bullshit, and you can see the smile on the El Salvadorian president's face. This is fine bullshit that you put in front of me. And all right, let's roll it. It's the next slide. And like I said, I'm confused on the specifics of the case, but this is just some marvelous first-class bullshit. Let's roll it.
Do you plan to ask him?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was a paperwork, it was additional.
Now, I'm completely confused. That may be true. It doesn't seem to align with that. There was another judge who said that you can't deport him there because he'd be unsafe. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I actually don't know. And sometimes on these things, it's like, can we just, I don't know why this information isn't more readily available, or at least I haven't seen other than the administration saying it. And if that's true, I feel, well, it could just be that the media is so liberal run that they haven't published those court cases. I don't know the specifics of it, but here to me is the marvelous bullshit.
Paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
Well, the guy's right there. And, you know, you guys are spending a lot of time pressuring China to try and get rid of tariffs, pressuring all the other countries on tariffs. I mean, we're pressuring people around the globe all the time. So if there is a law that you guys violated and, you know, the Supreme Court hasn't done it yet, but if they were to say, hey, you really do have to retrieve that guy, I don't think he would say no if you actually said, can we have him back? And now you might say, hey, it's all nonsense to run through then the court case of whether or not the guy can or should be deported or just be in jail in the United States of America. But I'm just saying this is some marvelous bullshit of, well, it's totally beyond us because the guy sitting right here, we can't ask him for it. It's his call. He's actually more senior than us.
So will you return him, President
And
Bukele?
you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know, it's asked by CNN and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign...
I mean, we're supposed to be the big American country. No one's going to tell us anything. No one's going to tell us what we do. But suddenly this is us pressuring, and it would be arrogant of us to pressure. I mean, you could just ask. The guy's sitting there. He'd be like, hey, our courts want to run would you mind sending him back here so that we can run a court case?
Terrorist organization. That meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to...
a little bit confused about that because isn't the foreign terror designation more recent to now? But like I said, the actual details on this case have become a little bit confusing to me.
Kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State, nor the president could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world. And I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
Well, I agree with the move right away. And if the guy's actually a member of MS-13, he should not be allowed to walk freely within our society. The other part seems like spin, and it does seem like also I think the Supreme Court just kind of stalled on it and said that the lower court can't give the guy can't dictate for the president to take immediate action on this because it's now a foreign affair thing, but that he was wrongfully sent out of the country. But anyways, we can settle all the spin and just say the court jesters spun some marvelous bullshit about why the guy that they're sitting there and getting along with, hey, you wouldn't want to give him back to us, would you? Well, it sounds like you don't want him back, so no, because I said I'm here to help you, and whatever you guys want. All right, moving on. We can get into a little bit of tariff talk. I think I got one more topic first. We don't have to talk about. I don't know why I even put that there. This is fun. I'll give style points on this one as well. And I believe that the newspaper article that I pulled this from is the one that put it behind that Auschwitz setting, which makes it look like less of an appeal. But for all the spin that I've seen from Democrats over the years and good marketing slogans and whatnot, I like that they're calling this the self-deport or face the consequences, which, by the way, incentivizing people to self-deport so that we don't have to take up the time to round them up and forcibly deport them. That makes sense, but I like that they're calling it the CPP Home app today to self-deport and protect your future. Hey, you just need a picture of the guy showing up back home, his grandma, serving him some rice and beans, a nice cold beer of Sol. You guys ever drink Sol? Pretty terrible beer. But, I like that. It's the CPP Home app where we're going to help you get home. This is your chance. We'll help you return. All right. One more random topic brought to you by PhoenixAmmo.com. For all the fans out there, people over the age of 21, responsible firearm owners wanting to make sure that you've got all the bullets you need. If you ever want to go out to the range, you want to practice your skills, you want to enjoy your free right as an American citizen to enjoy firearms, you got to go to PhoenixAmmo.com, the one company that they're living the truth, the standards of this show and the libertarian dream, which is that they will not sell bullets to the United States government. Many of these other companies, their entire business is just police departments. It's the military-industrial complex. It's all that nonsense. Well, not the good folks at Phoenix Ammo. You can go over to Phoenix Ammo. You can stock up on all of your ammunition needs and know that you're working with a company that will not work with the United States government. All right, this was from Zero Hedge, and I think one of the most fascinating storylines that have been lurking in the background is how much fraud and abuse and money is just being filtered to NGOs that are then undermining our interest. They're just pulling people over the border and spending funds to censor us on the internet. But then sometimes you start seeing some of these figures from fraud and abuse, and you start wondering, is our reckless government spending actually more manageable than if we just got rid of some of the chaos and nonsense? Some of this would actually be pretty quick to unwind. If there was just the political will to actually unwind the massive amounts of government spending, could it be done with ease if we could just sell the storyline and let people know how bad the fraud and the abuse actually is? So this was from Zero Hedge. Might of the living feds that need to tackle the 1,500 zombie government departments, and that essentially you've had all of these departments that at one point in time Congress actually funded, and then at some point in time they're supposed to review and refund them, but instead they just don't like to actually work, and so they just sit on the books and they continue to get funding. And so the actual number is the total federal budget in 2024 was $6.8 trillion, meaning expired zombie programs take up at least 8% of the budget and likely much more. So, there's something just interesting of if we actually forced Congress to work. Like you read about what was going on with that EPA thing where Congress is supposed to write the laws. So instead of doing that, they were like, well, we're just going to designate this organization and then this organization can oversee all of it. But like, just think about how much smaller government would actually be if Congress had to actually, you know, pass the budget. They were responsible for the money that we were spending. And then they were actually responsible for all the laws that we have to live by. It's like, it's amazing that the structure of our government, if we actually held government to the structure that it was supposed to have, might not be so terrible. I mean, the problem is, and I take this from Why Nations Fail, and it's a book that I've quoted before, is that the United States government is almost the experiment of being able to constrain a government power by a document. It's the failed experiment in that, and that you would have thought, hey, maybe we can constrain a government and then not have it do all the terrible government things. And then it turns out that we didn't do a very good job of that. But then sometimes you just hear the storylines like this, where you're like, wait, we can get rid of 8% of the budget if we just tell Congress that they have to actually certify that the things that they're funding are supposed to be funded. And if they have to actually work and that they're actually responsible for, you know, making the funding payments and reviewing them, as opposed to just having things on the books indefinitely with zero oversight whatsoever. And then here was another one. Elon Musk claiming Doge discovers millions in taxpayer dollars wasted on unemployment claims for fake people, which includes Doge claimed an initial review found that since 2020, 9,700 people whose birth dates aren't for another 15 years have claimed $69 million in benefits, which are administered by state governments. All right. You know what? I don't know when I'm going to do this. I've had enough episode for one day. I did want to get into tariff stuff once more, and I wanted to further take on why I thought some of the audience was mistaken in, you know, thinking tariffs as being a good thing. But I've tired myself out. My voice hurts, and I got 13 minutes to get my car to the dealership for an oil change and a new tire. So we're calling it here for now. Maybe I'll do another episode of the weekend just about this, or maybe I'll decide that I don't want to start another episode talking about tariffs, and so I'll come up with another 50 minutes of nonsense topics, and we'll never cover it again. Anyways, everybody, I'm really looking forward to being out in Chicago. That Zany's downtown is the best. I mean, listen, there's nothing funner than being out on the porch and all the shenanigans that comes with hanging out with the random fans that come out to these shows and bring me to their ice cream parlors. And when the Scott Hordens of the world show up, and you can download information about everything that's going on in the world and the universe. But, you know, the club dates are super cool, too, because I just get to show up. I get to work on my time in the best environments. And then, you know, you get to see my half hour followed by Dave doing a full hour, and he's a stronger comic than I. Listen, I love doing comedy all the time, everywhere. They're all kind of each weekend. You're like, I thought that was the funnest weekend I was ever going to do. But the Zany's downtown room in Chicago, in my opinion, thus far, having traveled this country, it's the best single room. It's a really cool room. If that early stand-up show is not already sold out, I recommend grabbing the last couple tickets. I think it's one of the only live Part of the Problems we're doing for the entire year is going to be the late show over there. And then we're in Rosemont, which is kind of a classic comedy club build-out. It's like a 300-seater, 250-seater. And Chicago weekends, this is my 5th or 6th time doing Chicago, 3rd time opening up for Dave. Been fun every single time. And then get your Porch Store tickets at porchstore.com. My God, have I stacked this calendar and got some tickets, got some flights to cover. So buy your tickets early, and then maybe I can afford to bring even more openers coming out. That's the show. Thanks for hanging out. Porchstore.com, Sheet.com, Phoenix Ammo, Yo Kratom, home of the $6 kilo. That's all the news for today. I'm going to start closing out the show, so that's a good slogan. And that's all the news for today. That's it. Have a good one. Gonna go get a tire.